Hello, my name is Brian Montalvo Ramos, and this is going to be my test plan for my maintenance shop program. Essentially, it's going to be pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. We're testing the program to make sure that it meets all the customer requirements and all their needs. What we're testing is the add, remove, search, and list all customer functions of the program. We need to ensure that the information is being stored properly and that all our triggers are working correctly, just in case there's any invalid information or if there's any error in our code, we could catch it earlier on and we could go ahead and get it fixed. Now, the way I set it up is pretty straightforward. It's going to show us the our flow chart of first of all, and then the second slide is going to be a screenshot of the results of our various tests. So for example, the list customers, here's the flow chart. You start the program, you select the list of customers, and then we wait for the program to retrieve all records from the database, and it's going to display the results. The results should read phone number, name, address, and email, and it should be the end. Oh, we'll back around to make sure we can select something else. This is the result for the list customers. So as you can see, we have our console right here. Let me see if I can get this pointer up and going. So we have our console right here. We selected the first, and then which is list of customers, and this is the information that we got. So phone number, name, address, and email. Pretty straightforward again. It showed us the list of customers, and excuse me, I'm under the weather. It showed us the list of customers that was in that database. So next, we're gonna have the add customer flowchart, pretty much essentially the same thing. Start the program, or if the program's already started, select add customer, which is two. Then you're gonna enter in the information, and then as that system is working, after you hit enter, it's gonna validate the information or invalidate the information. So if everything's correct and there's no duplicates, it'll show added. If there's a problem, display error. Those are the results of the test that we conducted. So we had a little problem with this section of our program, right? So this is the duplicate test, and as you can see, it pops an error, right? Because we try to add the same person, and it didn't work. So that is working correctly. Then here is our second one. So we added a different person. Everything went according to plan, and that person was added. Now here's the problem that we ran into because one of the codes, the triggers, excuse me, wasn't working correctly. So this information right here, the phone number should be locked to only integers, right? So numbers. And I tried an invalid input. So one of my triggers wasn't working correctly. So it added that invalid information here. That is something that we addressed, and towards the end, we'll show you uh, the fixes and the results that we got from the fixes. So let's continue on to add our to search for the customer. So again, flowchart's pretty straightforward. You start the program, you select it in your console, search for number, you enter the phone number, and if the phone number is valid, it'll show up. If it's not valid, it's going to say display not found. So right here, we put in an invalid input, right? So phone number that we know it's not inside of the database. So we added that, and it worked perfectly. It says not found. Then we searched for a phone number that we know it's in the database, and the valid input came out. So it'll show found, and it'll show us all that information for that customer. Then we're going to remove a customer. right? So same thing as everything else. Start the program, select the appropriate menu link, which is remove customer, and then you're going to enter the phone number. Once again, the phone number is the primary key. That's why we're using that for all the tests. Okay, so if you input it correctly, you put the phone number in the record assist, it's going to delete the record that says display removed. If not found, it should say display not found. So right here, we have an invalid input, right? So we put in this phone number to remove a customer, right? Number 5, remove customer. It says not found, right? So we go in and we put in a valid input, and again, we have our console shop. We select the 5, remove a customer, put in the appropriate phone number, and it should say removed. And this is what our list will look like without this phone number in it, right? So because we removed that instance. Finally, we're going to have the update customer, which is part of our system requirements. We should be able to update any existing customer by their phone number. So to select, you select update customer, you enter the existing phone number, and the system will validate the input, whether it's there or whether it's not. Excuse me. Once you update the record, it should say display updated. If not found, it should display not found. So here we go. So we pick number 4, update customer. This is the phone number we had, right? So existing, then we have the new name. Old name was Monkey D. Luffy. The new name is Porky D. Ace. And then we're going to have a new address. So last address was 123 Wano Castle Wano. And then the new one is 123 Whitebeard Crew, Giant Island, right? And then at the bottom of this, it says customer updated. I'm not sure why it cut out. And then we tried in an invalid input, right, for a phone number that does not exist, and it didn't find it because it does not exist in the system. So up to this point, most of the program. So these are going to be our test results and our test result summary. So for our past tests, we were able to list our customers, add customers, search, remove, and ensure that our menu options work perfectly, right? This is where we failed at. We failed at in the add customer, the invalid input portion. The triggers weren't working properly. So we allowed invalid data to go into our database, which it should not be happening. So what we found by our tests that we performed was to add, remove, update, search, input validation, and invalid menu choices, right? So our core CRUD operations work and our duplicate prevention works. The problem is that we're having validation issues, right? So allowing our program to take in invalid data during our add customer phase. So this meant that we could put in any kind of data, so gibberish, right, like ABCD, whatever, and it will take it. So our triggers weren't working properly. So the next step for us would be to go back and look at the triggers and restrict the kind of values that we have and improve any kind of error messages that we need. So I have gone ahead and done that, and these are the results that we got after we tighten up that program a little bit better and make sure that no invalid data can get into the database this way. So after we tightened up the program, we went in and retested that function that we failed at in the first place, which was the add customer. So as you can see, this laser up and running. You're gonna have the maintenance shop console, right? We're gonna add a customer. Before it was allowing us to have a null or a blank space as an input, and it was allowing that into the database. So once we tighten up those features and that trigger, we were able to get it to validate that data a little bit better. So invalid input now it says, and it's going to loop that program again. The second aspect was we had an issue that it was allowing any kind of character, right? Because the way it's set up for SQL, SQLite, excuse me, it's variable characters because of how I designed it. So we had to put a trigger into our Java to ensure that it would only allow numerical values or integers. Uh, and now, as you can see, it's working properly. So that being said, we were able to tighten up that program a little bit better and ensure that it's working properly. I'm sure as we move along and we add more features to this program, we're going to have to retest it to ensure that it meets all the requirements that the customer needs. Uh, Thank you for watching my testing plan for this maintenance program. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.